Hey everybody, Sleepy Reader here. It is Jack the King Kirby's 100th birthday. He was born today, 100 years ago, and boy did he make an impact. So there's been lots of great videos out there about all the things Kirby achieved, all the characters he created, how influential his art was, and everything. And I was just thinking about how I still am fascinated by this, but as a kid, I was super fascinated by the idea that he drew with squiggles, and that seemed to intensify maybe by the set in the particularly in his '70s artwork. But you could see it earlier on. Here's some '60s artwork in this poster, and a lot of these lines do signify muscles. Whoops, there's my finger. Muscles and the like, but some of them just seem a little abstract, like that squiggle on Steve Rogers' face, that squiggle. Some of the lines, like um, on Captain America's glove there. So there was a lot of ways in which Kirby's art really was a pop art. It literally popped out at you. It was full of action, incredible layouts. Everyone's legs were spread wide. Um, and but it was almost like, to me, he is up there with Picasso and Jackson Pollock and Van Gogh and other people who have just a really different way of capturing the world in a kind of expressionistic or impressionistic or whatever you want to call it. Just different ways to portray things. And I think that's a lot of why some people don't like him when they first see him. It doesn't match up with reality a whole lot. But there was something about it worked. It was this personal vision that also worked for millions of people. Look at that squiggle just right there on the boot of Captain America. And this would have been, I believe, like 1965 or 66. If we look at I've got a whole bunch of just Kirby things laying out. If we look at his monster comics from the early 60s or late 50s, you don't see so much of the squiggle. And I don't know if partially that's the inkers, like was he still doing it, but was it still there, but they kind of fixed it. There's a little sense of abstraction in the lines, and certainly an expressionistic or impressionistic, I don't ever know which, I don't really care about those terms, just so they give the sense of, something more emotional than reality. There's certainly a certain sense of abstraction, and also another thing they always did is these giant lips. Or were they really the lips, or were they that kind of indented space underneath your lips, between your lips and your chin? So anyway, this squiggliness developed, and it might have partially been who inked him and who was willing to go with his squiggles. But I'm guessing there were a lot less squiggles. Here this guy's wrinkles get close to squiggles. The squiggles were wanting to come out from early on. Kind of like the Kirby crackle that developed too. That was kind of another interesting abstraction or expression, turned into solid inked lines. So even though it was not realistic lines and stuff, there's some squiggles there. And then I think over time, the squiggles would show up in armor and such more than elsewhere. Let's see. Here is my Fantastic Four Artist Edition, and like in Jack Kirby's, in Doctor Doom's armor, there's lots of these squiggles, but those feel more somewhat representative of the shininess of armor. Although you kind of feel like the squiggles are just there for the joy of the squiggles already in an issue like this, number 60. So that's what? Is that going to be 66, 67? But a lot of times in the earlier Kirby, there weren't the squiggles. There's some proto squiggling in the metal. there's Sue Storm's space suit, or is that someone else? But anyway, the spacesuit has a little bit of squiggliness in it. And there in this close-up of a face, you can see other, like that, that cleft in the chin is kind of more like an abstract squiggle. The line in the cheek begins to take on an abstractness. And, and he was developing these more and more abstract hands. Here we go with the early appearance of the Inhumans in the Fantastic Four, number 47. And there's sort of a cross between squiggles and sort of more realistic lines of where muscles would be. The squiggles are still fairly controlled, except when we get Dr. Doom's armor. Oh yeah, I love that. And I think there's some Doom bots behind him. And I think when we get the Silver Surfer, I'm just jumping around here. Okay, so what did I want to grab? Here's some Thor, again from the mid-60s. A little bit of squiggliness. It's harder to tell with this recolored version here. There's really old Thor. Okay. There's no organization here. If you look at, so here's my Forever People artist edition. You look, the beginning of the Forever People is being inked by Vince Caleta. There's like squiggles in the car and places where it should be. A little bit of squiggling in Viking's outfit. The lines, these feathered lines, these feathered lines in his face, I wonder if they were originally crazy squiggles which Caleta fixed, or was he not doing that many squiggles before yet? Jump ahead, like there's a squiggle coming down from the lip. Are we in Mike Royer territory yet? I think it's still Vince Caleta. If he's drawing monsters now, and I think we're in about 1970, we're getting a more abstract squiggliness. Now, this is still Caleta, isn't it? But look at all the squiggles in this monster. Sorry for the horrible camera work here. Yeah, this is still Vince Caleta. I want to move on to squiggles that kind of mean something. I love this kind of stuff too, but that's probably I bet this was a more elaborate crackle that Caleta simplified. Now here I can tell we're on Mike Royer. The abstraction of the lines is much greater, and just the blacks are much more powerful. On the machinery, of course, a lot of squiggles. A lot of abstraction, but still denoting muscles in the character's arms. There we're getting very squiggly. So it's still, depending on the character, it'll vary on how squiggly it gets. But I would argue that he just kept getting more and more squiggly during the 70s, and I loved it, yet it drove me crazy as a kid at the same time. And then I would try to imitate it, and I could never quite get it. And I've seen other artists kind of do a little bit of it when they're trying to imitate Kirby, but no one goes as all out as he does, and somehow it just always works when he does it. Like there's some clothing. These squiggles don't really match up with most of them. That part does, maybe with wrinkles or the idea of wrinkles. Oh, there's some Kirby crackle. Anyway, my real point is just, along with all his other strengths, what a great kind of modern artist Kirby was, expressing something unique and yet something that everybody could take in. So then, here's some OMAC. We got pencils and inks here. Unfortunately, we don't have a penciled version of this double page spread here, because I'd like to see how Kirby drew those squiggles in pencil. Because they're saying this penciled version, there's a sense of the muscles and everything. It's not totally abstract, but there are abstract lines thrown in. So we got like partial clothing and partial just kind of abstract markings. And was it that Kirby was just working so fast, but he didn't have to put in so many squiggles to do the job? It's like he just loved these squiggles. Oh yeah, look at the lines in Etrigan's arm. Only half of those really have to do with the realistic muscles. That face, that's there, the demon's face. Most of that has to do with wrinkles, but then there's these abstract squiggles up here. Okay, let's see. Oh my God, look at that face. Just Wrinkle City, but with squiggles too. Yeah. And here's some Kamandi pages. This is bare skin now, and it's more squiggles on the skin as much as there is denoting muscles, I think. Lots of squiggles in the fabric. I think in a way, just looking at this, it seems like he combined the squiggles with the with other lines that did denote reality, the rough shape of reality, and somehow the squiggles added something. I don't know what, but on top of the reality. Here, you know, the shadows on Kamandi are pretty much all just intense black squiggles that don't have a whole lot to do with real shadows, I don't think, as a amateur to non-artist. And then, let's see, right over here I've got, from later in the 70s, the Black Panther. And he's just squiggling all over the place. He's still denoting muscles somewhat, but I think he's less concerned. Like, very few of those lines on the Black Panther's leg have to do with leg muscles. More of them do there. Squiggles and signifying lines on the face. The shadows, it's this intense energy of lines that I just really love. Even though I can't explain why they're any good or what purpose they serve. Oh, here's an older Captain America and Black Panther story with a lot less squiggles. Anyway, I think you get the idea. So when you're looking at Kirby, look at the abstractions, look at the squiggles, look at the Kirby crackle. Of course, look at the way things pop off the panel, pop off the covers. Originally, I wanted to show a lot of my favorite Kirby covers, but 95% of my comics collection is still tucked away in the back of a really big closet. Still haven't really unpacked my comics since our big move, like 5 or 6 months ago. Just shows what a well-organized person I am. So, I hope you're all having a good Jack Kirby birthday, or since I'm posting this pretty late, many of them will be seeing this after his birthday, but this channel is always going to have tributes to Jack Kirby 5 years ago, 5 years from now. So, talk to you all later. Bye-bye.